questions done, let me pull back the curtain and tell you plainly what actually gets the people rejected. These are not trick questions. Every single one of these has happened in a real interview I have. 14 of them, I'll go fast because I want you to feel the pattern. You get rejected when you can't name HCD stores. When you say kubectl delete pod to fix the crash loop back off, deleting the symptoms, not the root cause. When you confuse a readiness prop failure with the container restart. When you can't explain what happens when kubectl apply runs. Yeah, the hook. When you equate base 64 encoding with the encryption for secrets. When you don't know the deployment versus stateful sets PVC behavior. When you can't explain service endpoints, you get rejected when your first instinct is I would restart the node. When you never once mention resource request and limits. When you can't say what happens when node dies. When you claim you manage 500 node cluster but can't explain auto scaling. When you have no knowledge of any CNI and wave it away with Kubernetes handles networking automatically. When you can't read kubectl described output, and this one matters more than people think. When you don't ask any clarifying questions and just jump straight to the solution. Look at that list honestly. Notice that almost none of it is exotic, it's fundamental, and the why behind them. So here is whole lesson in 3 lines. Know the fundamental, explain the why, not just how, be honest, show depth, and share real war story. Do that and you skip every one of these landmines. These 14s aren't trick questions, they are daily habits, daily realities. So if that's what get you rejected, what I'm actually looking for, let me give you the exact mental model I use to grade every Kubernetes candidate. 3 operator can use Kubernetes, deploys application, debugs pods, writes. Administrator can manage Kubernetes, upgrade clusters, manages RBAC, configures the networking, and architect can design Kubernetes, multi-tenancy, security postures, DI strategies, platform engineering. Now, here is the observation that decides most interviews, and I want you to really hear it. Most candidates present themselves as architect, but they answer at operator level, and the gap. It shows up immediately in the following up questions. You can talk about designing multi-tenant platforms all the day, but the moment I ask how is network policy actually enforced or what does HCD stores, the real tier reveals itself in about 10 seconds. What makes candidate genuinely stand out at any tier, they explain what happens internally, not just commands to run. They know the failure modes, not just happy paths. They connect Kubernetes decisions to business outcomes. They have war stories, real incidents they diagnosed, fixed, and learned. And this is the mature one. They know what they don't know. And they're honest. And the instant rejection tells again, claiming to be Kubernetes expert but not knowing what HCD does, unable to explain a service endpoint, never having seen a crash loop back off, which just mean no real production exposure and surface level answers that fall apart on the first one. Here is my actual advice, and it's the most useful sentence in this whole episode. It's not about knowing everything, it's about thinking like an engineer. So be honest about your level and demonstrate depth at the level. An operator who deploys, understands operator level things will be beat a fake architect every time. Most people pitch themselves as architects, but answer like operators, and follow-ups expose the gap in seconds. Be honest about your level, then show the real depth at it. That's sweet. So, how do you actually build the kind of depth we have been talking about? Not just pass the CK, but be able to think inside the cluster at 2 a.m. moves, and I have done every one of this one break things deliberate. You have to produce the scenario in your local clusters, spin up the local cluster kind or K3D, any other orchestrator platforms you can use, deploy the real app, and then break it them on purpose. Watch what happens. Delete core DNS and see DNS fail. Fill the disk and watch disk pressures. Starve the memory and trigger an OM kill. Then use qctl describe. Second, trace and understand everything. Know which component handles what. Read the source code, not just the documents. Understand the flow end to end. The way we traced the 9 step apply path. 3. Operate at scale. Real incidents are what make you good. Volunteer for on call. Ready your team's postmortem. Contribute a real cluster, not just toy one. Survive an incident, learn from it, level up. 4. Understand the layer below. Kubernetes runs on Linux, so learn the Linux primitives underneath. C groups, namespace, IP tables with the file system. This is I will create separate episode for Linux fundamentals, and you can watch that for the fundamentals. This is where it is. A strong foundation is the difference between memorizing Kubernetes and actually debugging. 5. Get certified but stay humble. The CK and CKS are genuinely useful, great hands-on practice. The time pressure builds the real skills and they prepare you for edge cases. But certificate is not proof of expertise. Be honest about your level. Honesty beats inflated claims every. 5 words to take with you: build, break, understand, operate, improve. Because real expertise is earned in production, not in exams or certifications. Let's bring it home. If you remember 4 things from this entire episode, remember: 1. Architecture. 9 steps from apply to running. Second, workload choice, production decisions. Third, networking layers, 3 layers, 3 responsibilities. And fourth, security is not optional, non negotiable in any cluster. Do your homework, answer the hook questions out loud right now without notes. 9 steps from kubectl apply to running a container. Next episode will be episode 5 on the DevSecOps, chiplet security, SaaS, dash, scanning policy as code, OPA gatekeeper, secret management, secure CI/CD pipe. Let's stay connected. Subscribe, like, comment your answers and the questions. Comment your topics, which I can create the video on. Turn on the notification. Thank you.